Most of what I want to do this weekend is sleep. But what? That could be. I mean, the roads are. It's a nasty rain out there. All right. Do you guys have any questions before I get going, Ben? No. All right. So I'm going to talk today about set operators and also data modification. We're going to do some things that actually change the data. And I'm also, though this isn't part of the assignment, I'm going to talk a little bit about Windows functions. They're in the book, but I didn't cover them. Maybe I should have. So, but I wanted to show them. They do some neat things like pivot tables and things like that. But they're complicated. You know, really, you can do a pivot table in SQL, but you're a whole lot better off just exporting it to Excel. So, the set operators are kind of, you remember your Venn diagram? So these are basically operators like, so you have like, the union is both of these together, right? And this is the intersection where the two meet, have shared values. And then there's the, they call it except. These are the things that are not in, that are only in one set. So basically in SQL, there are these different operators that basically reflect the Venn diagrams, the kind of logic, set theory logic that you probably did, what, in the 8th or 9th grade? See, it's been so long since I've been in school, and they changed the math curriculum probably a lot since I did. For us, it was like the introduction to algebra book that they did the set there. I am recording. So let's do a couple of these. We'll start with union, which is fairly easy. And because my mind is foggy, I brought a script from last time. Just like there's old videos, if you go back on my blog, there are lots of examples. Yeah. I have changed things over time, so not everything.
Because I used it over, I wanted to refresh on the joins lecture.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, for some reason, I ended up using the older one. And so Metro Alt had a few little changes to it.
Yeah.
And I figured them out.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Community Assist has some changes.
Or no, it was Community Assist. That was the one. Yeah.
Metro Alt has a couple of changes that I've been meaning to give you. I have a script somewhere. I just have to find it to connect the rate changes with the ridership.
Oh.
That was just a dumb thing on my part, not doing that connection. And so there's a script that would do that and then connect it. The hard part is because you have to look at the dates, right, and compare the dates to the rates. But it's not that hard of a script, and I have it somewhere. And also, you're missing, we've talked about this before, you're missing about 80,000 records, which I had pulled out on purpose so that the summer class could do an import. But I meant to put them back in for the fall class. But anyway, unions. So I'm going to just do select person name. I suppose I should use Community Assist. So I'm going to do person name, person first name, person last name. And employee hire date. Is that what I want? Yeah, so employee hire date. All right, so from person, and then we'll inner join, and I'll do a P with employee. Not an interjoin, but an inner join. Okay, so on P dot person key equals E dot. Okay, so then I'm going to do a union with select, and I'm going to do employee last name. Can't, right? Employee, actually, let's do it first, and it needs to match up above. First name, employee last name, and I think it's also employee hire date. And that should be hired. No, that's right. It's just made the other one weird. Employee, except it's from employee. This is going to alt.d. So it kind of is about this. Ever show us database query? We're querying two different databases. So this is what's called fully qualified things. You have the Metro Altus database, the scheme, and they're both on the server to do this. It's on a server that you get different scheme and you can do that. You can query databases and you get servers. And you just do .NET. Can't leave out DL or whatever the scheme is. The other thing with union is that you have to match alike. So employee first name, person first name, employee last name, person. You know, they don't have. Actually, as far as the computer is concerned, as long as these are both character types, it doesn't care. But it doesn't make any sense if they're not the same. So what this is going to do, what do you think it'll give us?
It'll send all the people.
It'll give you a list of all the people from both. So there were 506 rows. Seems like there should be more. Oh, that's because we've only got six. We've only got 6 employees here, so that's about right. There's 500 employees in the other, so 506 rows. And you've probably noticed I have a lot of names the same. They tend to be unique in a pair, but they're not necessarily unique. And part of it is that the way I populated Metro Altus, I just created a big array of names, first and last names, and matched them randomly. So that's why you get a lot of similarities. But so it joins the two tables together into a new table result set that combines the data from both of those. So a union again is both sets, right, together. Does that make sense? These can be quite useful for certain things. You know, if you wanted to combine different sets of things to make a gigantic mailing list or something. Or, I mean, there are lots of reasons you could be using these. Questions on those? Yeah.
So you can't get independent, I guess, columns from another database and then throw it on there. It has to be this matching.
Well, if you're using union, they need to match or something.
Okay. Oh, there's other options.
I mean, if I wanted to bring in a column from another database, I could, like if I was doing a join,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
you could do it. You'd have to do this to designate. Well, actually, wait, let's do that. It's not part of this, but let's do that real quick. So, what do we want to join between Metro Alt and the person is the one that makes the most sense. There's not a lot in common. Let's look under employee under Metro Alt. We can maybe bring in a something that's not the same. Although if I bring in the effect of it is going to be like a it will either eliminate all of the people in in the person table because it won't match, or it'll be the effect of like a cross join. So I'm trying to figure out how to bring that. Because the thing is, if I put in a, well, maybe it'll just give us a null. Let's do person, employee, hire date. What would we bring in? I'm just trying to think of what we would even bring in. The thing is, you could. This would be nothing. This will not work. But I could do. I wanted to bring something in. I could do like a. Well, let's just do employee hire date. And I'll just do this as this won't work, but this would be from person P inner join. They have no relation. Metro alt DBO dot employee E, and then there's no way they're joined, but on P dot person key equals E dot employee key. This is a meaningless, but just to show you the syntax. So this E here could stand for the metro.dbo.
And you don't need the union?
Well, so if you did this, it wouldn't work.
Okay.
There's no, it'll do something, but it'll give you garbage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Nothing significant.
So it gave us 129 rows, but who knows what those mean? Because this employee hire date has nothing to do with the person, right? So it actually gave me all the people in person table, but the employee hire date, this one, how does it, I'm not even sure what it is going to be.
Looks like matching.
It looks like because we use the same people in both tables.
Right, so it gave me the hire date from the people table and the hire date from the employee table. But we're matching two different keys, so they're not the same person.
Oh.
So what I'm saying, you could do this, but it would have to be meaningful somehow. There'd have to be some actual way you could join it. A typical example where that might be the case is if you have like a business database, point of sale inventory type database. And then you have a separate database for your human resources and your employees. And you might have a place where it makes sense to cross join. Just do an inner join between a table in one database and a table in another. Because your employees could be, all their information's in one database. Your sale information is over here, but you have your employee key in the sale information so that there's a legitimate join. These two databases have nothing to do with each other, so it's really hard to make a legitimate join. But union you could do. They say you wanted all the employees from different businesses. You could do, create a massive, their email address, but you could massive email list. Or maybe reasonable if you had multiple charities or petition lists or something, you could join them to get all the people where they Did that answer the question?
Yeah, totally.
So, but union is, as I said, it's a fairly useful one. Any other questions on union? Couple of things. Union has been around for a long time. These next ones that I'm going to show you are brand new as far as SQL Server is concerned. Oracle has had them for a long time. So I'm going to do a intersect. And intersect, again, is this, the part that the two sets share. So I'm going to do an intersect between select, I'm just going to do city from person address. And I'm going to intersect with select employee city from alt.dbo.employee. So this will bring all of these. Is it underscored there? Oh, this is person address city. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to, one of the things that I made different in the database is that I made it more consistent in my naming. All right, so when I do this, it shows Bellevue and Seattle. Those are three cities that are shared between the person table and employee table. If I were to run just this, just to show you that there are others, see, well, let's do a distinct, which you don't have to do with the intersect. So it has Bellevue, Kent, Seattle, and Tukwila. So there's at least one city that's different. And if I were to do distinct up here, there's more cities, including a couple of nulls. Bellevue, Kent, New York, Puyallup, Redmond, Seattle. So it just gives you the ones that they share.
So that's like a distinct inner join.
It is kind of like a distinct inner join, but probably easier.
Yeah.
Now, I do not know, and that's something I should research, is the efficiency of this compared to a join. Generally, joins are considered the most inefficient way to do things, but not, I don't know. It's probably good at join underneath. So that's intersect. Is there any questions on intersect? Again, it's a pretty nice way just to see what cities are in common. And I can think of 1,000 reasons you might want to ask that. There's other questions, that could come up in terms of looking for commonality between two that are really, so there's no actual relationship between these, but they both contain a city, right? And then the other one is select. We're going to do exactly the same thing, actually, so let me just copy it, except we're going to change it to accept. And this will show me all of the cities. Now, this is a reversible because it's different depending on which comes first. So these are the cities that are in person address that are in including two nulls. Null, an empty string, and then these cities. None of these cities are in Metro Alt. But if you reverse this, I'm going to put there's and then this one, you'll get a little bit different answer because it'll show you all the things that are in city that are not in that are an employee that are not in person address, which is only Tukwila. But does that make sense? It's kind of like a left outer join. I mean, for effect. So this one shows you all the ones that are in person address that are not in employee. This one shows you all the ones that are in employee that are not in person address. And you could get pretty much the same kind of thing with an outer join. But again, I think this is easier. So tactically. Does that make sense? I think that's all of them. As I said, Union has been in there for a long time. Others are fairly SQL Server. And it used to be, I'd say until like 2012, that only had you just use joins to do it. Our ANSI standard. ANSI defined these in 1991, but no Oracle implemented them.
So when about them.
Like 2012. They've been making, I mean, it's driving me nuts, but Microsoft has been putting out a new edition of SQL Server about every other year. And most of the changes have had to do with making it more connected to Azure, to the cloud, so that your standalone computer can talk really easily with your database on the cloud, and etc. Lots of different cloud functionality. But they've also added a few things like this. And they also, not too long ago, added all the geolocation stuff. So they added a new data type to keep track of latitudes and longitudes and etc. for mapping, data and location kinds of things. They also added a hierarchical data type. So relational databases are not hierarchical, but a lot of information is hierarchical. So they let you say, this is level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3, so you can output it hierarchically. So, I mean, they keep adding little things to it. the basic core stays pretty much the same. Okay, and I think they've actually they're trying to get more functionality that's related to the NoSQL kinds of stuff too. It's hard though. I mean, it's a very different structure for that. But one of the things they've added, I think, was more JSON ability. They can read the JSON. Traditionally, SQL Server works really well with XML. So you could do the SOAP and all of those kinds of things, and you could transfer information as XML. But more and more, the web is moving to JSON instead of XML because it's lighter weight and it's faster. Although XML gives you more information about what's being passed. So they're adding a lot of JSON parsing things too. It's never ending, you know. There's no. As soon as you've mastered something, it becomes old, and you have more stuff to. In a way, that's fun, and sometimes it's just tiring. Depends on my. All right, the next few things, and I'll put it a little. Probably may even want to see it. I don't know. But I'm just going to say, not on assignment. But I just wanted to show them to you. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to show, and I'm not sure, these are called ranking functions. Have any of you ever worked with anything called a ranking function? You can do some neat things with them. And the book, if you have the book, has a chapter where it covers this stuff. So I'm going to, I kind of put all the ranking functions into like one query here that I'll show you to you. And I have to change everything because the names are wrong. But I'm going to select grant key, grant type key, grant allocation, except I think I'm going to do grant request. Or grant request amount, is that what I named it? Yeah, grant request amount. Okay. I'm going to break the line here. And this is where I'm going to do row underscore number over, and then order by grant request amount. All right, descending. Okay, as rank. So this is going to rank it in terms of where does it lie in the general rank. And then I'm going to do another one, because as I said, I just put these all over. I'm going to do, I said, oh, actually, this is as row number. This is where is it in the row numbers. And then I'm going to do rank. And it also has this over and order by, has actually the same order by grant request amount descending, so it has the same order by as rank, except that if I do that, I need to put that in square brackets. And I will try to explain this after I've done it. As I said, my mind is mush, so we'll see how good my explanation is. I'm going to do dense rank, which is another function. And these are relatively new, I think, also. and then over. And basically what you're doing, this is the nice thing about these is we're really doing a lot of what we subqueries is the way it's going to when it's done. Order by grant allocation descending, or the grant request amount. So they're all based on an order of things. You know, what is the rank in this? I think dense rank, if I recall, is more of a comparative rank. I mean, how many values fall into that rank? Does that make sense? Or it's just an absolute where is it? Anyway, I'm going to use dense rank. I guess I could just, it doesn't need a thing if I do. All right, and then I'm going to do intile. And I had explanations of all this, but I'm not sure if I have it on my mind right now. Intile 10 over order by grant application. So it's the same thing. And from grant request, type and all, and order by, and then I'm going to order by the same again. So let's run that and see what it, oh, grant key doesn't like. Why? Oh, it's because it's grant request key. All right. Normally, you probably wouldn't do all of these together. So this is the grant. This is the grant type. This is the grant request amount, and it's it's sorted by the grant request. So the highest amounts first. It's row number 1. Its rank is number 1. Its dense rank is number 1. And then it's intile. I forget what intile is. Does anybody ever look?
Yeah.
Intile is number 1 also. Notice that the rank for the other one is still number 1 because these are the dense rank is the same too. Down to 350 because it's the third in the ranking. This one goes to 2 because it's the number 2 in terms of amount. Does that make sense? This one, these are both the same, so they're both ranked 1, but this one, because it's in the third value, ranks it as 3rd, whereas it's actually 2nd in height.
This intile function allows you to associate rows and result in files.
Top one's 1. You said from top 10, right?
Okay.
So this is a group, and then 2 is a group of 10.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then 3 is a group of 10, and 4, etc. Do those make any sense? I may need to go get a quick drink of water. Let me get a drink of water and you think about what, and I'll try to answer. As I said, these are kind of interesting things. And again, you don't have to do all of them in one query. That's just, it's, So the tile breaks it into subgroups, and these basically, this says what row number it was in the sort. This gives you the ranking, the absolute ranking. So these are both one. This gives you 3 is because it's position, even though it's the second highest value. That's rank 2 because it's the second highest value. Sounds sort of. Again, it's a quick analysis of a lot of data, which could be of use, particularly if you do some stats, I think. So no questions? I don't know, when I look at that, it seems to me. Other, I won't spend the time on these. There's only a little bit more to do, though. These are some, and again, this is the one that does more what the subqueries were doing. So these are called Windows partition functions. And the Windows here, I don't think it refers to Microsoft Windows. I think it's that it's a window on the data kind of thing. I should look and see what they're called in like Oracle. So I am going to basically the same select. For the top. And then I'm going to do some, oops, I lost the select, lost the S. I'm going to do some grant allocation. No, grant request amount. Used to be grant allocation. Over all as total allocation. Or total request. Let's do. And then I'm going to do some grant request amount. Over, and here I'm going to put something in the parentheses. I'm going to do partition grant type E as per grant type, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm just going to do from service grant, and we'll order by, it's not service grant, it's grant request. Seal name here. Order by grant request amount. Descent. Now that should work. What is it not like? Oh, that's the wrong direction, yeah. This is equivalent of a group by. This is going to give us total everything, right? This is going to give us the grant, all the requests. It's over empty parentheses, which means over the whole table. This is going to a partition by grant type. It is exactly the same as saying we're going to group by grant type. Let's just run it and you can kind of see this. You know, actually, maybe we should order by grant type. That actually makes more sense to me. Grant type key. And descending doesn't matter. All right. So when I execute that, so these are the grant request amounts. Do I want grant type? I'm not sure I want that in there. The way it is right now, it gives us every single grant. It gives us the total amount, and then it gives us a per type. So we get a lot of repetition on that because of the total per type, the total per type. If I took the grant request key out of here, then this would make more sense. Oh, wrong one. But if I take it out of here, then the thing makes more sense as a table. So it has, I still gave this the grant type key. I want distinct. Still gives me 3 of them. Why? Oh, because the grant request amount. Do I want that in there? Let's get rid of that. That makes more sense, I think. Although I suppose you could have reasons for having the other. So it has the grant type, the total request. This is all the money that's been requested in the whole table. And then this one is the total requested per grant type. I think you could add like a year in there too. You know, like, so we've got total requests by grant. If we wanted, we could do, where do we want it? Let's do it here. Some grant request amount over partition by year grant request date. Let's see what that does. What is it not like? Oh, because I need one more. So we have 2 of those on there. I should probably put the year up here too, right? Well, that's the amount per year. Let's do. All right, let's see if that works. So that gives me the grant for each year. I have 1, 2, 16 for that one, but for each year, and we could order by year. I know I get carried away. That That way it's all 215 and then 216 at the end. So it gives you the grant type key, the total requests for everything, the amount per year, which is actually pretty, that's the total amount per year though. And then the grants per type. I wonder if you could do partition by year by type. It's a little bit different than the. So the way it is, this is the year, this is the type, this is the total altogether, this is the type total for that year, and this is the total for that type for that year. There's a slight difference between these because there's only one request in 2016. Does that make sense? I mean, it's a little bit like, it gives you slightly different answers than if you had done this with inner joins and group bys. You'd have to think about how you want it, whether this is what you want or you'd rather have a group by. But it also gives you some things like the totals that are only otherwise doable by subqueries. Does that make any sense? Basically, it's just you're doing an aggregate, and then you're telling it how you want to group it, how you want to partition it. So it's just a different way of doing that in some ways. And then the very last thing I'm going to try is a pivot. And it's not going to be super exciting, but and then we'll do the final part that is part of the assignment again. So I'm going to select. Do you guys know what a pivot does, basically?
Is that related to pivot tables in Excel?
Yes. Oh, is this even going to work? Let's see if I can change it. I don't know if I can even do this without thinking about it a while, because the table has changed. Maybe we'll come back to that because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now because I'm going to have to change everything about it. The function of a pivot table is to convert columns into, or rows into columns, or columns into rows. Basically, you're flipping them. So values that are in columns become the headers for your rows. I mean, it can be really neat in terms of giving you kind of a two-dimensional grid on your data. What I had here was going to take the services and put the service keys across the top as column names, and then list all of the grants. What it would look like, don't have a good place to draw. The trouble is that I've changed the table significantly. I was going to put service keys as numbers across the top, and then it was going to put the year or the months. I think I have it as months down along the side, and then the different grants would show up. It's the sum of the different grants would show up where they were given in that matrix, right? So there would be like one would be given in, the sum of all the grants given of this type in this month in this cell. Does that make sense? That's what a pivot table would do. So the actual values for the grant types would be above here, the months would be along the side, and then the sums of those would be scattered in here depending on where they've been given. And it works, except that my tables, I switched my tables out. But I can make it work again. I just have to sit and think about it. But as I said, you can do this pivot. And the book again has some examples. You can do this pivot with SQL, but it's really probably a lot more effective to just export to Excel. One of the things that the newest versions of SQL Server have is, and I'm not sure exactly where it is in here, but they're really twinned with Excel. So it's meant to be really easy to export and import data back and forth with just like a click of a button. It's the reason why Excel used to have a limit of, what was it, 60,000, 65,000 rows. Now it has a limit of 3 billion rows.
I thought it was like millions.
I think it's 3 billion rows.
Wow.
Pretty sure that's what sticks in my head. I won't swear on anything too sacred to that, but it's really big. What? Yeah, you can look it up real quick, I suppose. So I might be wrong, probably by a factor of billions, but let's see. It's a hugely expanded.
What did you say allows them? 65.
Yeah.
How many?
1 million.
Oh, so it's only a million rows.
576, yeah.
But that's still a lot different than 65,000. I thought they said 3 billion.
Might be cells.
Oh, that might be. That's possible.
There was no
What was the
limit.
change that allowed them to expand so?
Well, Microsoft just changed it. They used to have a limit of 65,000 rows, which is a lot. You know, 65,000, there must be something in the storage of the cell number. It does, because that's the limit on, that was the GW basic, that was the limit of lines.
So in like a.
So it's got to be in the byte or 2 bytes, 3 bytes.
Right.
Yeah.
In a database like this.
It's kind of dependent on your storage. If you're using SQL Express, there's a limit in data size, isn't it 2 gigs? But if you have the full SQL server, they give you a limit in the petabytes. So it's really a matter of, can you get a physical disk but no, this isn't really relevant either, but we'll go on to the other part. We're going to do it's fairly easy, and you've probably done it before. One of the advantages of NoSQL is the way they distribute data. So in NoSQL, you can spread your data over hundreds of hard disks spread out all over the web. Right, so that gives it, in terms of scalability, it's instantly scalable to any size you can imagine, basically. Disadvantage of that is that no one query ever guarantees that you're getting a full result, ever. So they call about eventual consistency. What they do is, in order for speed, they give you as big a result as they can get, but if there's anything that's difficult or slow, they just leave it out. Right? So it's not good for doing accounting. But for a relational database, if you want to scale, it means buying bigger hard disks. Buying bigger hard disks. You can bundle hard disks, you can split files across hard disks, but it still needs to be in proximity to each other. You generally don't spread it over the web like that. I mean, they copy, like if you go up, if you make a web database on Azure, there's probably 30 copies of it. And they're spread out, but they're all copies. They're not storing different data. It's not expanded that way. If you want to expand the size, it's basically buying bigger hard drives, more processors, and more RAM.
So are they all linked? Like if you update, it updates all of them?
Yeah. So what they do, like log log shipping, where basically you have your main one, and then they ship out a copy of the log of everything you've done to the others to keep them in sync. So they're not in necessarily instant sync, but pretty close.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is that you should, I mean, they can do it because it's not as expensive for them. A company will do that to some extent. Because if one database dies, you want to fail over to another database. And that's part of what like Azure or Amazon or Google or some of those that promise you, is that the failover will be there. You know, if there's a power outage on the East Coast, that doesn't mean your data is gone necessarily. You know, if there's an earthquake in LA, your data, because it's also here. And with Azure, I know you when you go in there, you have some choices you can make which change how much it costs, of how widely spread it could be. So typically they promise to spread it in 2 regions, but you can ask them to spread it for 4 or 5 regions. So you can have some copies in Asia as well, in Europe as well as here. Amazon, I'm not sure. I haven't done their failover stuff, you know, and I'm not sure they make you choose that. They just sort of do it. I do know that when Netflix goes down, they're on Amazon. And when the East Coast goes down with a power outage, Amazon often goes out. Or if, or not Amazon, Netflix. So I don't think they're spread that widely over. When Amazon goes down on the East Coast, Netflix goes down also. It's happened a couple of times. It's weird to me that Netflix is on Amazon, because they're the 2 main competitors.
That's your point.
Amazon getting money from it.
So anyway, let's go on to the last part here is just basic insert, update, and delete. Most of you know these, don't you? So I won't spend a lot of time on them. I'll show you a couple of things with insert maybe. So I'm going to insert a new person. I'm going to go get the, there's a couple of others I didn't show you, but you guys did it, where you can insert with a select statement. Remember doing that? I think it probably was part of the subqueries. So you can insert, and then that'll allow you to do it like a bulk insert. It's a really good way to like copy data. I'm going to go to person here, community assist, person. I don't know if I've shown you this. I probably have. This is a cheat. If you drag in the column folder, you get all the columns. All right, so I'm not going to enter the password. Actually, is password required? I want to go back down to person. It's nullable. Let's don't do pass. We definitely don't want the. I think password in here is hashed. I'm going to show you how to do that later, but not now. So let's do that. And then I'm going to insert into person address. And I'm going to drag those on too, but so there's person. There's person address. So when you drag them in, one thing is you can't insert into the identity. You can't insert into the auto number. So I always remove that. let's do values here. What values do we want? What person do we want to enter? Anybody have somebody?
Are you in there?
Probably. We could do it again, I guess. Which is not my address, but that's okay. And I'm just going to do get date for the date. Okay. And then we'll do values for this. So some of these are nullable, which means you can leave them out, or you could write, if you really want to leave them there, you could actually do null. Street 1701 Broadway. Feel like I live here. That should have quotes. City and state are actually have defaults, but let's do Seattle, Washington, 98122. Okay, now when we do person key, oh, I did a period there, so that's unhappy. When you do person key, this have I shown you this where I'm going to do, I forgot a comma there, ident current with an underscore, not a parentheses. I'm having trouble typing. Have I shown ident? It's a function. Will return last identity created. So you need to know who key is for the person that's just entered, right? So don't know if you're going to put these together, know what that is going to. A couple of things you can select and look it up, find the last identity. Right? This one actually returns the identity, the last auto created in the table that you specify. So since they're going to immediately each other, there's like a chance that this will be the right key. So we do, one needs to was affected, and if you select star from person, go to the end. See, there's there I am, and I'm 130. Notice a null password. And then if I go to person address and go to the end, you'll see that there is an address for, it's 135 as an address, but if I go to the person key here, it's 130. So that's the right person, right address. So I think the ident current is probably the only part of that. If you wanted to enter a bunch of values, you can do and I'm just going to get the same. And then I'm going to do values. I'm not going to do the address this time. We'll just enter the Simpson family. What What else? So where do they live? They live in Springfield, right? But I have no idea what their street address is.
Or should I be?
That probably should be email. Yeah, we're not doing addresses, it's just an email. That's good, so I don't have to do those. And then get date. All I wanted to show you is you can do this. Homer. So you can do that for as many. So if I do that, it'll give me three rows affected. And if I select it from person, the last three will be there. So you can just do, just do values once, and then parentheses and with commas intersect in the different sets. Again, this is something you couldn't do in SQL Server until relatively recently. I'm not sure when that would.
Multiple inserts?
Multiple inserts like that. You used to have to do the full insert statement for each insert. You could do that forever with MySQL. This is nice if you're just doing a lot of stuff. However, if you're doing this, your ident current isn't going to work because it'll just go with the last one, right? So if you're inserting into multiple tables and you want to get the most current identity, you have to do insert into person, address, insert into contact, and then do it again and again and again. If you're inserting into a single table. Okay, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else with inserts. I could show you one weird thing, although maybe I can show you. I don't want ease for that. No, don't take a few minutes. It's not worth a few minutes. Did it do it, I wonder? All I was going to do is show you how to enter non-English characters. Keyboard, did it do it? I don't see my keyboard, so I don't know that it did. I may have killed it too soon. Oh, there's English, Greek. Actually, let's keep it in English for a minute. All right, so I'm going to do and insert into person. I'm actually going to do the same things here. So the basic syntax has to be the same, and it has to be in English, but you can do, I'm going to do in, And then a single quote, I'll go to the Greek keyboard. I'll do my name in Greek. See, this is last name, so this would be does it have, it remaps the keyboard. I'm not sure where, that's the wrong S, but that's all right. It's interesting. All right, and then back to English. What does it look like? Get date. Should be all right there. Incorrect syntax near step follow. So
You're missing a comma above. I think you're missing a comma after person interview. Up above. You need a comma after.
no, I don't need a comma there.
Because there's a thing on your parenthesis at the end.
Quotation, I mean,
Why is so the N is that one was happy. This one is not.
You don't have to do it once.
Maybe it's.
I don't know. Maybe you do only have to do it once. Okay. The N is to say you're using Unicode. So maybe the N is only necessary at the beginning. I didn't do it though. See, it did it here, but it didn't do it for the others. Why isn't it allowing me to do? Weird. Utterly, completely weird. See, but what the N does is it tells you you're using Unicode.
No.
And it allows you to enter non-English characters if you ever have need to do that. Nothing in the assignment like that. That's just a thing to play with. I probably will give you Monday to work on this and let you guys finish it over the weekend. The other thing I want to do is just an update. Is there any questions about update, the syntax? So updates is for changing existing tables. So let's just do update person. So we could set, let's go to our first thing, set person first name. Equal Jason. And then I'm just going to do a comma. And we'll say person email. Equals, let's just say Henderson@gmail. Where, and this is crucial, so I think I've showed you before the Smith problem. I mean the So this will change that. And I wanted to show just how you could, you can just do a comma and then you can change all of these. The sec keyword only happens once. The update person. It's really crucial to have a where. Anybody remember why?
So you don't change it.
Right, because you could rename everybody Jason if you do this. And that could be a really big disaster. That could be a job losing disaster. There's a couple of things you can do. I think I showed you this, begin tran. Guys, remember what it does? It starts a new transaction. It's a little bit, I haven't run it yet, but it's a little bit problematic if you're doing it this way. Anybody? So
Doesn't lock up.
yeah, it locks the table, especially for an update. So if I'm doing that, and then I execute that, so it's okay, except that I haven't ended the transaction. If I go away and have lunch or whatever, nobody can do anything with that table. It's locked.
And it's locked until
You either commit or roll it back. On the other hand, when you're operating alone like this, particularly if you're tired or something, it might be a good idea to do a begin tran, end tran, so that if you do something really dumb, you can undo it. So the way you roll it back is literally roll back. We're going to use these, but we'll use them in process inside of a stored procedure, so that if there's an error, we'll roll it back. If there's no error, we'll commit it, right? So although leaving the where out is not an error, right? It'll let you do that, because there are times you might want to update everything. You might want to change all of your prices by 5% or something. So it's not an error to leave this out, but it could be a really disastrous
if you
thing.
put roll back tran, is it just going to roll back the last?
It just rolls out, it rolls back everything up to the begin trend.
Okay, so you have to include all of it when you run it, or just?
Well, so let's run this without, so I'm going to do the begin trend. And don't do this unless you do the begin trend, because I'm going to run this without the where.
Ah.
Okay, notice, cannot insert duplicate key. Oh, that's because, so we're protected there. The email has a unique key on it. So it's been terminated. So I think if I were to do rollback tran, it would not, it'll say there's no trans. Oh, it did. It rolled it back. Okay. But this one doesn't have a duplicate. Oh, let me do begin tran. So this, when I do that one, oh, what did I do? Oh, the comma after the. Let me do this again just in case. Okay. I don't want to get stuck with everybody named Jason. Okay, so if 135 rows affected. That's your first sign, right? That something is really wrong. Person. And there they are. They're all named Jason. Now, if you hadn't done begin tran, you're just screwed. But if you did it begin tran, you can do that, roll back, and everything will be restored. So if you did it without a manual transaction, every time you run a statement, there's a transaction. Okay?
And then the rollback also opens up the table for out.
It reopens the table, so it's just now the lock. And I actually am not sure the whole table will be locked, but certainly that row would be locked. It might, actually, for an update, it can lock the whole table. It depends. Windows, the SQL Server will determine a lock, and it could be one or more rows, or it could be the whole table. For some things like restore database, it's the whole database that's locked. So, but anybody know how you'd fix that if you didn't do an explicit transaction? Yeah, if you have backups, which I don't right now. If you have backups, you could restore from backup, and then you could restore the log up until the moment before you did your stupid thing. So you could recover as long as you have backup files and are logging it. However, you have to go offline to do that. So that still could be an issue with your boss. But it is, if like this, you have no backups, then you're just screwed. There's nothing you can do. And notice there's no warnings, right? So same as for delete, although I think update is actually more dangerous than delete. If I were to delete from person, just say delete from person, and I will do a begin tran, although I don't think it will actually do anything. Why would this not give me? It conflicted with the reference constraints because you can't delete a parent that has children, right? You can't any record that has related records and other tables cannot be deleted until you delete the children, which sounds very cruel. So you have to go through, you have to step through and delete the child records before you can delete the parent record. You can turn that off, but I would suggest never doing that. There is a thing called cascade delete. All right, and if you set up a cascade delete, then when you delete the parent, it deletes all the children. Once again, if you made a mistake, you're screwed. Right? Saves you a few extra steps to get rid of something, but if you accidentally get rid of something, there's no getting it back, except restore from backup and logs. Yeah, so I wouldn't turn on delete cascade delete. Now this is not like if I were to do this from so let's do rollback tran real quick because I think the trans is still holding. If I were to delete from person address though, and before I do that, I am going to begin tran again. What would happen there? $135 rows have been deleted because they are it's a child table with no further children. So for child tables, delete is very dangerous. And it will just, basically you can, so I'm going to roll that back too. So delete is dangerous and update are dangerous. Insert is not dangerous per se, except that one of the things that can harm a database is a lot of garbage data. So you want to make sure that the data that's being inserted is relevant and accurate. But other than that, it's not going to create quite the disaster. Update and insert delete are a little bit more dangerous. None of the selects, other than the insert select that we did, have any effect on the underlying data. They're just creating result sets. They don't change the data at all. But these three commands do change the data, and they can be fairly dangerous. They're syntactically easy, though. Now, the insert, update, and delete are only for data. And I'll just real quickly, do you remember, if you want to make an object, it's create. That would be the insert equivalent. Alter, it would be the change, the update. And drop is how you get rid of it. That's for objects. For the data, it's insert, update, and delete. I think that's everything for that chapter, and I didn't leave you as much time as I meant to. So I will give you some, as I said, we'll see where you are on Monday. Yeah, any questions? You do have a half hour or so, 40 minutes. Yeah. Oh, okay. You have an error?
Yes.
Sure. Maybe. A lot of collation.
Yeah, I'm always Google something.
Yeah, collation is a concept, is country area where you can. So the two databases have different correlations. That's a good question. We might be able to change the correlation. I think that when imported, because the files are pre-made for the natural health, they have my correlation, and then yours probably inherited when we did community assist. Because I didn't send any of that specifically, probably inherited from the computer. You might be able, in the properties for community assist, to change the correlation to even match natural health.
Maybe it might be because it's already.
Yeah. Because you can only have to.
I have not found this.
Yeah.
Oh, just, oh, click OK. That always comes up.
Yeah, that one is okay in a sense because we don't have to do. That's
to know what it means.
friend requests.
Yeah, it just, yeah.
Yeah.
Comes up on the. Show me the translate. Yeah.
Oh, what is it? Right, that's right.
Oh.
So, and the other one.
Oh, yeah. Can't insert person address key.
Oh.
And all this was for the apartment.
Oh, okay, and also.
So that returns the last automated person. So we return the automated person.
Oh,
We're working with that.
that means I, have this.
Yeah, so you add the person and then this one, you'll get the last person.
Oh.
So you have to lock it exclusively. Because it basically says you have to lock the table before you change the information. No, not the table, but the database. You have to make it for exclusive use, and I've done that before, but I forget right now. You might be able to do it in the properties. Yeah.
So I have to do it.
Yeah. You have to be in a single user, I think you change it. It's not working. It is, Let me look at it. It might be easier. Because I think you have to change the mode so that it's single user, then change the correlation type. And then after that's accepted, they come back to it. You might be able to do it in the properties there, but it might involve like changing it, closing it down, coming back. But I'll look and kind of look at it. Let me write it down so I remember to. I might look at here in just a moment. Can I copy this and stop the video?